Number 1. This was a few years ago. Funny enough, it was on Halloween. A friend and I were driving around, really just passing the time and enjoying the rich kid part of town, where they really try their hardest to show off their money by the number of decorations, fog machines, lights, sounds, music, the whole 9 yards. As we drive down the street, we end up getting to a row of houses with the lights turned off. Not a single light save for the moonlight and our car lights. That street was usually blacked out, with the exception of one house, an older man who would always go all out for every holiday. It was as creepy as it can be. Skeletons, a witch in the background, some odd chants and laughter. My friend saw that he had the Take One candy bowl with full-size candy bars, so he parks the car and gets out. I follow him past the mock graveyard and walk up to the bowl. As he reaches into it, bam! A little hand pops from it, and it makes him jump. He literally runs back to the car. As I laugh, I grab a bar for myself and head back to the car. When I realize something, those chants and other noises are not from here. I let my friend know as I get in, and we decide to drive further. He notes that there is a little graveyard that's open all night, so we decide to check it out. It takes about a second to get there, but when we do, we can hear the chants better. And very faintly, we see some lights. We turn our lights off and slowly creep up. As we enter, I get an odd feeling. Halloween night in a graveyard? This is how every movie starts. But luckily we had a car and are big enough to take down a big guy or two, let alone a couple of emo kids trying to summon a demon or something. But as we finally see it, or see them, a group of people wearing robes, dancing and chanting around a fire. Not just some twig fire. No, firewood and logs, heavy dancing, 5-foot tall flames. The people around it were dark-skinned, with paint on the face of one older woman. As she chanted, she tossed something in the fire, and then, out of seemingly nowhere, she pulls out a chicken. It was either already dead or had just been killed. It was very limp, like it had no movement of its own. At the same time, we both just look at each other in shock. More so laughter than fear. And as we chuckled to ourselves, she turned her head as slowly as possible and stares at us. We had no clue if she knew or had a sixth sense, but she stared at us for at least a full 10 seconds, and then smiles at us and waves us over. My friend was in the fuck this mood. He takes it out of park and floors it. Nothing happens. Literally almost no noise. Almost like the engine stalled or something. One of the men, with white paint on his face, takes a look at us and waves us over also. Like they want us to join them. But when the car finally wakes up, we get the fuck out of there. Not even looking back for a second. Crazy occultist people trying to raise the dead or whatever you were doing? Let's not meet. Number 2. This is my first time posting this story on the web, and it's one of those strange encounters that has stuck with me for years now. At the time, I was in 8th grade and going home with a friend. She was from my class, and we planned on having a small get-together, and headed out after we got off the bus to go for a walk. Her house was in a neighborhood, and the road led off into the woods. She knew these back roads well, but I was still nervous about the area. Myself and a little group left to go visit this neat trail out in the backwoods. About halfway down the road, an old rickety car pulled up to us. We figured at first that maybe he was just slowing down not to hit us, as he was going rather fast. But the guy pulled over. "Where are you girls headed?" he asked. He was an older man with scraggly features and a very gross wife beater. Kind of a stereotypical creepy. So we kind of stuttered and just said that we were on a walk. He starts sizing us up, and it's getting pretty damn creepy. After some small talk, he laughs and tells us we shouldn't be out and about without a set of men around, and then he just speeds off. Creepy enough, right? Later during our walk, we ran across some blood leading off to the woods and found this mattress. The mattress was coated in blood. At first, we thought this was a weird Halloween prank, but soon found out that it was actual blood. If you've never smelt real blood before, it has a very distinct iron smell. So, unless someone unloaded a bunch of red-colored iron on this thing, it definitely wasn't normal. We look around for a bit more at this weird blood mattress and find a trail leading off to the woods. In this weird little alcove, we found bloody children's clothes. Me and two others from the group ran the hell away from there. The rest were just yelling and fighting over something that I can't quite remember. When we got back to the house, our dad went to retrieve the four others who decided to stay there and fuss. We sat terrified inside of the house. We found him, later that night, driving up and down the roads outside of my friend's house. A few of my friends were just hanging outside, and I got so freaked out that I had to leave. I'm glad I wasn't there, because a lot of dares my friends did were outside dares, and they all told me they saw the car driving around the house slowly. I think at one point, he tried to talk to them, but they just ran inside. I always felt weird that our host's dad didn't call the cops. He probably didn't believe us. Although it's not an intense stalker story, and it could be pure coincidence, but it's all still really disturbing to me. Number 3. I got my master's degree at a university that is known for its huge Halloween festivities, which is due largely to the fact that it's considered one of the most haunted campuses in America. I didn't go to the Halloween celebration during my first year because I don't like crowds, but during my second year, one of my friends had a party, and after drinking quite a bit, we decided to walk downtown and check out the big party. The main street near the campus is shut down for a party, and it's usually packed with people. There is a barricade enforced by mounted police. There are a lot of people out and about trying to scare people, so when I first saw him, I didn't think much of him. My friend and I were walking down a side street arm in arm when we saw a man wearing a mask. The mask was one of those uncanny valley type deals that has enough features to make you aware of it being a face, but still blank enough to be terrifying. When I saw the mask, I instinctively shuddered, but regained my composure relatively quick. I assume that he saw me shudder, because when we passed him, he didn't move, and he made like he was going to lunge at me. I just shrugged it off, but a little while later, I happened to glance over my shoulder and noticed that he was following us That was also when I noticed that he moved oddly. His legs were a little too stiff, but not in the way that implies injury or knee replacement. I'm not sure what was up. It was very subtle, but he just didn't move the way most people moved. We were very close to the festivities at this point, so we just assumed he was someone playing a prank and didn't really give it much thought. Once we got there, we got swept up into the crowd, and we lost him. After we were done downtown, we went to my best friend's house, which is roughly the same distance from downtown to the party, only in the opposite direction. We sobered up, watched television, ordered pizza, talked, and mostly forgot about the man. When enough time had passed, and we knew we were completely sober, my friend drove me to my car, which had been left at the party. I got in my car and started to drive home. Due to the Halloween festivities, I had to take a twisted route down a number of side streets, many of them one-way streets. About halfway home, I saw the man again. This time, he was carrying the mask in his hand, but still walking in the very same manner, still wearing the exact same outfit as well. He passed under a street lamp, so I got a good look at his face. And probably, the creepiest thing about it was it wasn't overtly creepy. He was no smiling man. His eyes didn't seem deranged from what I could see. Nothing about his features were particularly remarkable. Just a man in his mid-30s. Which is a little odd, since this is a college block party for people in their early 20s. I was 23 when this all happened, and I even felt a little old to be there. However, when I drove past, he lunged at the car. He wasn't terribly close or anything, so it wasn't like he was trying to get in. But it was the same sort of fake, "I'm messing with you" lunge from earlier. Except, I wasn't parked under a light, and I don't think he could see inside the car. Fortunately, I was able to just drive by, as if nothing was happening. I was far enough from home that there was no chance of him seeing where I was going, and I added a few twists in my route for good measure. I assumed that he must have seen me in the car, and mock lunged just like he did before. It didn't escape my notice that the lighting on my street was very similar to the lighting where I had seen him last, and I couldn't see the faces in the cars. Maybe he was just doing that to every car. Maybe he was drunk. It was Halloween after all. This was not the end of the story. I saw him again, roughly every 2 weeks or so, and it was always at night. I was always driving, and he was always walking in the exact same manner in which he does. It was always down a side street, though they were in many different parts of town. And once again, he would continue to mock lunge at my car. There was always insufficient lighting, and I was never sure if he could actually see in the car. Other cars passed him, but he did not lunge at them. This continued about once every 2 weeks from October until May, until finally I graduated and moved out of the town. I would see him, he would lunge, and I'd drive off. I'd be nervous for about the next day, rationalize it away, and then forget about him until the next encounter. Toward the end, I noticed that he started to follow my car for a while, before just giving up. I would always drive around and not go directly home, just to be sure that he couldn't follow me. Between the following and the fact that I had never seen him in the same neighborhood, I kind of wondered if he was trying to work out where I lived. But I just dismissed the idea as absurd, since I didn't even know for sure that he knew it was me in the car. Our last encounter was about a week before graduation. I was on my street about a block away from my house when I saw him from behind, walking down the street with his usual stiff gait in the direction of my house. As I passed him, I realized he was wearing the mask again. He lunged without slowing down. I drove past my house and just kept driving until I reached the highway. From there, I called a friend who lived on the other side of town. Sobbing, I told her I needed to stay in her guest room for that night. When I arrived, I told her what happened, and she let me keep my car in her garage, in the off chance that his nightly wanderings took the man to this side of town. We kept my car there until I left town a few days after graduation. I'm not sure what the story was with this masked man, but I never want to find out. While I have been back to visit, I haven't spent the night in that town since leaving.